And hello to you. John Blankenship in downtown Jackson right now, and we are at Riverside Cemetery, and wanted to kind of take a quick walk around here and look around. And let's look at this stone here. We'll flip you around, and we are at the Brown plot. And today I thought we'd stop here. It's a little windy up here on the hill, but it looks nice to see that most of the snow and ice are gone. I'll do a little video today. I just got done speaking at the Colonial Danes Society here in Jackson. A good program. We talked about cemeteries and cleaning of tombstones, the proper way to do those, and brought up conversation about Judge Milton Brown. So we won't do a full biography of him, but we'll talk about the famed Milton H. Brown, and who still has descendants in this area today. One of the wealthiest individuals before the Civil War in this area, who was an attorney, also served as a judge there, and we won't go into a lot of that today. Served in the House of Representatives representing this area. Very influential in the Jackson and Madison County community here in West Tennessee. His home was not too far away from this location where we're standing now at Riverside Cemetery, just on the edge of downtown Jackson. And of course, here's his large monument. I believe it is almost the tallest, if not the tallest, here at Riverside, the city's oldest existing cemetery. There was one before, but many of those were moved. I believe that was on Johnson Street. But we are here at Judge Brown's grave, who put a lot of support to the Confederate Army in this area. Most likely one of the training camps where men before the war organized as Camp Brown in Union City. Most likely that's named for him. He was president of the Mobile and Ohio Railroad for several years. Made a large sum of money from that. Again, served in the House of Representatives, a local attorney, gave land for many different churches and schools. Lambeth College, that we know as Lambeth now, the original location was just across from his home, around about where the police department, the civic center, and all that area is. His home stood on Chester Street at one point there. That's, of course, gone now. But let's go a little closer here and look at the grave of Judge Milton Brown, who was born February the 28th, 1804, and he was born up north. I think it was Ohio, without looking that up right now. I believe it was in Ohio he was born. I'll correct that in the comments if I'm wrong there. And he died May the 14th, 1883. Several children here, several descendants still in this area that descend from Judge Brown. And his wife, of course, his wife Sarah, is buried here as well. She was born December the 22nd, 1817, and died May the 10th of 1876. And this is their plot, the Brown plot here at Riverside. Of course, the Carruthers family connects into them, the Danceys as well, the Gilmores, just a few of those of his children that married into those families. And let's walk back up here to the stone. Be a good project to clean it. I spoke today to the Colonial Danes Society in Jackson about tombstone cleaning and the proper way to do that. Thank you there. Yes, born in Ohio. That's correct. I thought that was right. How to properly clean these. And Judge Brown's stone really, that marble stone, would really shine again. It needs a cleaning. So I'm going to reach out to one of his descendants and see if we can get the okay to do that, and maybe do that this spring. So here's the epitaph. After a happy union in this life of 41 years and 110 days, we part on earth to meet above and part no more. Milton and Sarah F. Brown. So Judge Brown, of course, responsible for the really building up of the Mobile and Ohio Railroad, which would come through, of course, Jackson and make its way into my home in Humboldt in the late 1850s. 1857-ish or so, when it would come into the Humboldt area, would be completed through there. We'd go up through Trenton and on, of course, up to Union City. Just recently, many of items related to and artifacts of Judge Brown and was in a descendant's estate sale, and many of those have now been daguerreotypes have been preserved by a gentleman, and we are glad to know that they're in good hands and being cared for. Again, got to see some really neat photographs never seen before of Judge Brown, and hopefully in time we'll be able to share some more of those. But let's look at some of the other children that are here. Of course, this is his son, Milton I. Brown, who was born in 1837, died in 1911. We'll just kind of walk around and look at a few of these others here. Of course, you can see how these all connect the children of Judge Brown that married into the Gilmore family. And then the Danceys, of course, as well as the Carruthers family. Many descendants still of these around here. And you can see, of course, his daughter Ella married Stoddard Carruthers. Very well-known and influential family here in Madison County and in Jackson. But I thought it would be interesting to stop by and visit the grave and pay respects to Judge Milton Brown. Again, we were talking about the railroad, the Mobile and Ohio Railroad, that would make its way into West Tennessee in the 1850s and come through Humboldt and completed there in 1858, 1859. Humboldt would really become an important junction on that way after the Memphis and Ohio Railroad would be completed there in 1859. It would originally stop and later make its way in a short period of time up to Paris and beyond, which made an important crossing. As we know, Humboldt, the name The Crossing, comes from the crossing of the two rails, the Mobile and Ohio and the Memphis and Ohio Railroad. Judge Brown, of course, the promoter there and president of the Mobile and Ohio Railroad. The Memphis and Ohio Railroad that came from Memphis up through Brownsville, Bales, now Gadsden, of course, there at Humboldt. Of course, it knew that Humboldt would become an important place when those two rails crossed. Folks began to move in and build there, and it grew rapidly. Of course, the war between the states slowed that down. One of the individuals that came up from Memphis to speak, Robertson Topp, who was known as the founder of South Memphis, the Beale Street areas where his mansion stood, the owner of the Gayoso Hotel that was in downtown Memphis, and the president of the Memphis and Ohio Railroad came and spoke at a location in downtown Humboldt at the corner of Main Street and 14th Avenue now, where the Milton Baum store was, now an empty lot. Stood on that corner in a grove of trees and spoke and promoted the new Memphis and Ohio Railroad and wanted folks to buy into that. And they did. And the road was built. Now, an interesting story, some know and some may not, that the town of Humboldt wasn't first known as that. Now, I've never found a document to prove that the name of Tresvant was ever on any official document, but this story is very accurate. A man by the name of Colonel John T. Tresvant, who was also associated with the Memphis and Ohio Railroad, had put his name there on the depot. Now, we know there's a Tresvant, Tennessee today. It's the same man it's named for. Well, of course, Trenton missed the Memphis and Ohio Railroad, went south of them, which angered some people. So I feel the story is more accurate to say they didn't want that Tresvant name on that new post office, which, of course, for the establishment of a new post office in 1858, in October of 1858, the name of Humboldt was put on that document. It would have gone through the Trenton postmaster at the time, and I'm sure they didn't want any part of the Tresvant name, since Trenton missed that second road that would really put Trenton to be a larger community. But again, Judge Brown there with the Mobile and Ohio Railroad, which got it all started. Very generous man, very wealthy individual. Something, if you've never been to the Casey Jones Village there's the old train car there that's named the Judge Milton Brown, that's named for him. And of course here he lies since 1883 in downtown Jackson at Riverside Cemetery. There's a little bit about him. There's so much more to talk about with Judge Brown. Very interesting individual. Very involved in his time at the war between the states and his support of the Confederate Army. Let's take a little walk around. Again, Jackson and Madison County is not my specialty. Gibson County is my specialty, where I serve as the county historian. But I know a little bit about Madison County. And let's take a look at a few others. And let's see if we can get to the one I want to easy enough. Well, let's look at these up. Let's go up front first here. Let's go to where some Confederate soldiers are buried along the hillside here. And let's look at those. Hope the audio is okay, guys. It's a little windy out here. I've got the microphone pinned on me. Let's shut the door there. It's good to see the snow and ice gone. Let's go down here on this hill, and here's a project that needs to be worked on. Get some hands to come down here and do this. Riverside Cemetery, going back to the earliest days of Madison County, city-owned cemetery. Tornado came through here back many years ago, and this used to be full of beautiful trees, and of course they're all gone. So here on the hillside are at least 40 Confederate soldiers. And here's a marker that was put up several years ago. And here's a little bit more about them. Between 5th and 6th Street on the west side of the cemetery lie 40 Confederate soldiers. There's another plot of about 75. We'll go look at those as well. Many of these were killed in the surrounding Jackson area. We know, I believe, some were brought up from Shiloh. And you can see these small markers here that were scattered all around, but I guess for mowing purposes they've been piled up. There's some newer ones here. The old Ingram camp, I believe, put down, and others, and they lie in this area here. And you can see more of those scattered throughout. So this would be a good project. I agree, Steve. Signage, and this is something we need to work on. It's been needed for a long time. Let's go over and look at those others of approximately 75 that are buried on the south slope. A little ways away, so we'll walk over that way. Pretty day here in West Tennessee. Y'all gonna get to hear me be a little out of breath. I probably need to do some of this walking. Good exercise. Pretty afternoon. But again, the railroad's very important to the development of this area, especially Humboldt. Again, Humboldt's existence wouldn't be if it wasn't for the railroad. And in this area here that you see, down in this area, is where those other 75 soldiers rest, down in that way and around. There was a little tablet here that told about those, and I believe it's over this way. There was a little marker up by the road, but I think those are gone, but we'll walk over here. Yeah, those iron crosses would be nice to put out here. Getting some good exercise today. A little cool on this hill. And here are those others. The other 75 or so. And again, the old UDC chapter. Usador McCory and the William H. Jackson chapters, the old UDC chapters here in Madison County and Jackson, put this marker up. And you can see there's a few of these that have some markers on them. Some say CSA. I don't think some say anything, but a lot of them are gone, probably buried here. And here's a little bit more about them. I believe a lot of these came up from Shiloh, if memory serves me right. They sleep the sleep of the brave. And then there's one of the older markers that were numbered at one point. So yeah, definitely some work needs to be done to this. But here's these other 75 or so that are here, and I believe we know the names of a few of those. Again, I didn't come prepared to talk in detail about them, but just wanted to show those today after I spoke, and thought while I'm down this way, I might as well look at some of these. A little windy out today. Just show you a few others, we're just kind of glancing around here. One of these old tablets and false crypts, I would say, that's kind of elevated. This is John Clark Cochran. Let's see, y'all can probably read it better on the screen than I can at the angle, the way the sun is. Born the 12th day of July, 1826. Always loved the maker's marks on these. And can y'all make that one out? And there's his wife there. Let's look at a few others of these. And here's one that's we should mention a little bit about since we're here by him. Colonel Robert I. Chester, who Chester County is named for, one of the founders here of this community. Of course, he was married to Elizabeth Hayes, who was the niece of Andrew Jackson. He served under General Jackson as the quartermaster of the 3rd Tennessee Regiment in the War of 1812. He was postmaster here, a merchant. And of course, we mentioned Chester County being named for him. He's buried here at Riverside. It's faded again. Pretty good. Let's go down here and look at some more of the Chesters. It's the whole family here. We'll look at some of the stones. This one's been chalked or painted. Some other names. You can see a lot of veterans here. I've got a listing of all those, but if someone's interested in knowing those. Here's some interesting ones that we'll just kind of touch on. Again, you can look some of these up. Morrell, you probably heard the name of John Morrell. Look that name up. You'll find that to be an interesting individual. I won't go into his whole story, but look up who John Morrell is. You can Google search him. Some of the Campbell family, influential in early days of Jackson. And here's the old one, Alexander. Let's walk on down and look at a few more here before we wrap up the video. This would be fun to bring the Madison County historian Ricky Long down here maybe one day, and we'd do a little video if he'd be willing to do that. Here's a member of the 6th Tennessee, Company G. Let's go this way and look at a few others of interest. The Campbell family, we mentioned those, and here's some more of those. And we'll look at the general here in just a moment. But there's some more of his family. I love this epitaph. Again, this is just a quick walk through. Not done a lot of research today, just to pass through, just look at some of these. Here's General Alexander Campbell, General of the Confederate Army. Had a large home not too far from here where we're standing. His home was, if you're looking at the buildings behind us, you see the bypass going here just off that ways. And here's a closer look at his monument. And this is a polished, I guess it's a granite, very pretty obelisk. Love these. Born June the 4th, 1828, died June the 13th, 1893. We've got a photograph of General Campbell, by the way. He was general in the Confederate Army, a Knights Templar, Knights of Pythias, lawyer, statesman, well known and important in the city of Jackson. Pay our respects to General Alex Campbell. Here's one of those false crypts. This one needs some work, and it's been damaged a long time, probably after the tornado here many years ago. I've always liked these, what I call them, false crypts, because the person is buried below the ground. But something interesting, this is neat, you get to see. You can see how it was assembled, where it was made and brought here, and you've got the Roman numerals. The 4s match up. So which corner went with what, you don't always get to see that, because that's usually covered up. And this is more of the Campbell family. Thank you, Derek. I enjoyed doing that tour of Twin Oaks. Let's see here. Who else do we want to look at that we can get too closer? Let's walk back one. The SCV in our camp in Elizabethton put this marker down. And a couple of years ago. And we'll walk back here and look at that one. Again, it's hard to stay focused on the video because I start stopping and looking at other names to recognize. And again, many of these names here in Madison County connect with ones in Gibson County. They all kind of come together. Yeah, Kimber's right. She found John Morrell. He's a interesting guy. Let's see. That marker is over this way. There it is. It's the newer one straight ahead we're going to. We'll tell you more about it as we get there. Beautiful cemetery. A lot of history here. Again, we could spend hours just talking about the influential people. And again, we see the names and dates. Remember, it's the time, you know, that old saying about the dash. These people lived real lives. Many have been forgotten about at time. Time has taken away those memories of the lives they lived and their story. Some we know, some we don't. This was put down a couple of years ago now by the Elizabethton camp, SCV camp. Landon Carter Haynes, who was a Confederate senator, he was from the East Tennessee area, was down here. His son is here and other family members. He was originally buried in Memphis at Elmwood, but moved here in the early 1900s. Never got a marker. But thanks to the camp there, Landon Carter Haynes, who was a former Speaker of the Tennessee House of Representatives and Confederate senator, now has a marker. He died in 1875 in Memphis, was originally buried there, but they were moved to 1902, 1903, I believe it was, but finally now are marked. And here's his son, Robert, who was also a Confederate veteran. So that's more of a, probably, I guess, the newest marker that's been put out here. Well, let's make our way back. Hope this video is doing okay. I don't know what the Wi-Fi service or internet connection is down here, so hopefully it's all right. Many different names that are important to this area. But let's see, did we go past... Where's Mr. Butler? He's over here, I believe. Let's look at William Butler before we leave. Is he on this side? I believe that's right. Guys, I'm not as familiar with Riverside as I am our cemetery in Humboldt. I may not be able to put my hands on him fast enough. Maybe not. Or maybe I walked right past him. He's a small obelisk that was put down later for him along the edge of the roadway. But yeah, there he is. He's over there. Sorry, I was over too far. Let's walk back this way. Some good exercise that's needed today. The old legs will probably regret all this walking tonight. But let's go back up into the older section here and look at a few others. William Edward Butler, the father of Jackson, and an obelisk that was put up in more recent years for him. You can see he was a member in the War of 1812, the 2nd Tennessee Infantry, 1790 to 1882. There's a portrait or a painting of him. Here's a little bit about Dr. Butler, son of Revolutionary War patriot Colonel Thomas Butler. Born in Pennsylvania. Of course, he marries into the Hayes family, again connected to Rachel Jackson, wife of Andrew Jackson. And then you can see a little bit more there about Dr. Butler. And of course, in 1821, he donated over 30 acres of land, which is in the area you see back that way, which would become Jackson. So we pay our respects to Dr. Butler today. Something I love about history, I believe it's a calling in a way. It's a responsibility that some are tasked with. And you may not understand where I'm going with this, but I feel like a responsibility is being given to me and others to tell these individual stories, to continue their memory, the sacrifices they made. Man, you know, guys, our life is easy compared to what some of these people went through. To found these communities came to a wilderness where there was nothing. And sometimes they've been all but forgotten about. But that's why it's important to record these stories, write them down, preserve them for future generations. Always loved this cemetery. You should have seen it back in its days. There's a few photographs online when all the trees were here before it was torn apart during that tornado many years ago. But all the graves have mostly been restored. Walking back kind of where we started, let's go over here to, of course, the Gates family. That's a John Gates. There's a name we could talk more about. You can Google search him. You can learn about him. Look up Robert Gates as well. Let's go over here. This is one of my favorite obelisks in this area. I've always been one of my, with the cradle that's in front of it. The Jones family. Of course, that top that's broken off that says Faith. I love these markers. There's the Bible there. And then let's get around. Again, you can see a little bit about him. A beautiful obelisk. And Reverend Jones, A.W. Jones. He's got a connection to Gibson County. And you can learn more about Reverend Jones online. We've got some photographs of him to share too, so go check him out. Reverend or Dr. A.W. Jones. Again, some of these, just time have just about wore them away. Let's look at the Cartmill grave before we wrap up. These white bronze, they call them, or zinc type markers. And Robert H. Cartmill and his famous diaries, if you're not familiar with those, there's been a book written about those, and the Cartmill diaries. Tells from a few decades of this area, especially the time of the war. Again, Robert Cartmill was born in 1828 and died September 30th, 1915. Lawyer, soldier, farmer, and churchman. And again, of course, it's not marble or granite. A zinc or a white bronze. The Confederate monument on the Court Square in Trenton is made out of that same material. Trenton's is filled up with concrete now after storm damage several years ago. Mr. Avery, you are right. Some good E2 cleaning would make those shine. But love Robert Cartmill's stone. Always have liked those. And then there's some more of them, some smaller ones over here as well. But you look at those too. Some of the children, that one needs reset. But again, they're hollow, this is interesting. Perpetual care. I believe the mausoleum also is supposed to have perpetual care. I have to learn more about that and the funds that are out there for that. But there's the Cartmill stone in his grave. Let's look at General Samuel J. Hayes. Let's not forget about him and his later marker that's been put down for him. Again, we're not going to go into all their history, but you can look these folks up and learn more, and all their connection to Andrew Jackson and his wife. Well, I hope y'all have enjoyed a little walk around Riverside and highlighting a few of those. Always love the carvings and the emblems on the stones. Some talented individuals that carve these. Some of the Lancasters here. I like these type of stones as well. Here's Samuel Lancaster, born 1799, died 1859. Well, there's a little walkthrough. We'll kind of wrap it back up where we started. Here at the Brown plot of Judge Milton Brown and his family. And again, hope you've enjoyed the little video, little walkthrough. And let's close with this one here, because I've always thought these carved stones are neat as well. She is missing her head, but the Muse family love this carved stone here of the books. Well, there we go. There's a little look around Riverside Cemetery in downtown Jackson. Hope y'all have enjoyed that. It's fun to walk around and talk about a few of these folks. We've highlighted some of the more influential ones in this community, but every person here played a part in the community, whether it's small or large, and their lives are important, and their story is worth remembering and telling. But again, here rests Judge Milton Brown. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope it was interesting. Hope y'all have a wonderful rest of this weekend. And again, y'all take care. Be safe. Glad the snow and ice has moved on out of here and ready for some warmer weather. So y'all take care. Have yourself another great rest of this weekend. And talk to you soon.